the second ever WADcast Community Cube WADcast.
WADcast Community Cube.
Alright, cool. So, first things first,
let's just give a shout out to everyone that volunteered. Honestly, I wasn't even sure that we were going to get 10 people over the course of the about 10 weeks that it's going to take us to get this done. And we got them within 24 hours. So honestly, just a shout out to everyone that volunteered to help us out. Really appreciate it. And first and foremost, the first volunteer, Jerome.
Yeah, sweet. All right, so I guess I'll dive right in.
Yeah, just tell us about your.
So I was inspired to do a black-green reanimation deck. What's really cool about this is that because the restriction is only common and uncommon, I had to go through some unique routes in how to get my creatures onto the battlefield and also get them into the graveyard. Maybe just to tell you, first of all, the really cool reanimation spells in and of themselves are Rescue from the Underworld. There's also...
you know what we can do? We can do a visual spoiler.
That's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's Return from the Underworld. There's also, Rescue from the Underworld. Dread Return, which actually animates twice.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. So there, are we looking at? Yeah, so Rescue from the Underworld. We also have Victimize, which I discovered in the Eternal Masters draft format, where you can sacrifice a creature and get 2 onto the battlefield. That's actually how Rescue from the Underworld also works. And of course Vigor Mortis, which reanimates a creature and makes it just a little bit bigger. Like I said, because of the rarity restrictions, I decided to take a more creative route in how I can get my creatures into the graveyard. There are a lot of discard outlets, which is great. That means you can actually afford to go into red-black Reanimator as well. But for green, there's a lot of great creatures that are really, really big, and they cycle. So when you cycle it, it goes straight to the graveyard, and you draw a card off of it, putting it in your graveyard for safekeeping for the next few turns when you want to reanimate that creature. I also played a bit on into the battlefield effects, like the Bailiff Null, which when it comes into the battlefield, it'll actually bring guys back to your hand from your graveyard, which may be useful if you want to cycle guys a second time and draw another card off of them. I also put in some neat tricks, like the Invocation, the Kintree Invocation, which will double the creature you just brought from the graveyard, which is probably going to be pretty huge. Maybe 7/6, maybe an 8/8, who knows? And it'll make it into a just as powerful as that creature. There's also Grizzly Savage to get your guys into the graveyard pretty fast. There are a few out there cards, which I'm not sure how they're going to work, like Nyx Weaver, which is an auto-mill creature. He just keeps getting things to your graveyard. There's also a Moldavan Cloak, which is one of my favorite cards ever, because it's an enchantment and it does come back from your graveyard. You can use it to fill up your graveyard again and again. That's just about how it works. I have to say that I'm really hopeful that Deaseer will actually work well. That should be able to draw you lands early game and also get all your creatures in the graveyard when you want them. And I was inspired by Jonathan's inclusion of Spell Shapers. So I included the Llanowar Mentor, which will get you Llanowar Elves by second turn and following, as well as the Skirk Ridge. Where is he? He looks pretty angry. Yeah, the Skirk Ridge Exhumer, which actually, both him and the Llanowar Mentor actually create cards that really exist. Like Festering Goblin and Llanowar Elves, which is pretty cool. That's the essence of how the deck works, and I really think that the madness. What is this? Exodus. I really think that all the great madness enablers are also going to work toward this archetype in a lot of ways. Even the more expensive ones might be more difficult, like Urborg Siphon Mage. Might be more difficult to get that going in a Madness deck. It'll definitely work for Reanimation, though.
Definitely.
Yeah, because there's a higher cost for the effect, for the discard effect, but it's going to cash out more at the turn you affect it, and maybe the next turn you can reanimate the guy right off the bat. So now I'm going to turn the board over to see what you guys think. Any suggestions for this archetype?
Go for John.
Well, I like the point that you just made about the Spell Shapers, how the discard and reanimate effect works well with them. One of the cards that I had put in, but I wasn't really sure because of it has an X cost associated to it, was the Cackling Witch that's just up there.
Yeah.
In Madness, now that I think about it a little bit more, I wouldn't be sure that if I had to do it again that I would put him in there,
right.
But with the discard effect works fantastic for Reanimator, because it doesn't matter for how long.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, what I really like about the deck is the cycling.
Mm-hmm.
Most of your creatures, like you said, large creatures in the green. I think there's like 9 of them that are pretty
pretty
beastly.
big. at least 4 or 5 big hitters. Yeah.
But with the cycling, and especially I love the Wireward Guardian for this, because with the forest cycling, if you're able to either get it back in your hand with like the null or hard cast it, the forests are going to be able to get, sorry, not hard cast it, but reanimate it. The forests are going to be able to let you hard cast a lot of these monsters without even actually having to go through your tricks.
That's cool. Yeah, good point.
That being said, there was one card that I thought would work actually really well, just because of the sheer volume of, not volume, but the strength of the creatures that you have, would be Exhume.
Yes, which is...
It's 2 mana, 1 black, 1 colorless, and each player takes a creature from his graveyard and puts it into play.
Yeah, that totally is a 5th reanimation spell I can put in there. It might be a good addition to what the one's already there, or it might even replace one of the ones I have. It might even just be better. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Exhume, which is a common.
Yeah, that's right. Common. It's incredible.
Insane.
So, when I first saw the archetype, because we saw it about a week ago, I really liked it. Like, I looked at it, all the pieces kind of fit together. And the only thing that worried me is that, there's a good and bad to everything. And I think that one of the good things, keep the color scheme, but no stuff in there, yeah. The good thing about this is that it's really tight with madness. Like, the two, it's like you're picking cards that actually go into madness. So, like, there's a lot of enablers, is what I'm trying to say. There's a whole bunch of enablers.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we need that many enablers.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a bad thing. I don't know how that's going to play out. It might be a good thing. It might be a bad thing. I have no idea.
That being said, though, if there are 2 different players that are drafting these 2 archetypes, which is what we want, they're able to pull a whole bunch of cards from the other deck without ruining the other one. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. If there's 2 players that are playing Madness and Creature Retrieval in black and green and black and red, there's enough here that both of them can be playing that without essentially cutting each other every time they take a card.
I guess. There's also the problem that it might be a little bit insular, so it only helps out those 2 archetypes. It doesn't help any other black archetypes, which is something. But I mean, like I said,
which is a good point. If we do end up refining some of the overlap between Madness and my Reanimation archetype, it would be cool to look at what has more reach. What are more versatile enablers? Like maybe I don't know, John. I don't know what you think about Zombie Infestation. That's a freaking great card because you can manage 2 cards off of it.
No, I know it's great. Yeah.
So that's something that's maybe a bit more versatile. Maybe something that's a bit less versatile would maybe be. Actually, I wanted to talk about the Creeping Dread card.
Yeah.
That's one of the suggestions I have for your archetype.
Before we go on to that, I still want to talk about the Golgari archetype. We can talk about that, and we can go on to other stuff. One of the things that I thought was a little bit win-more is the Kin Tree Invocation. I know you talked about pulling back another creature, and then so when you pull back another creature, you play your Kin Tree Invocation. But the actual climax of this deck is just getting that one creature and letting it stick. And that's why I think when you go up here, there's a Plated Crusher.
Yeah.
Plated Crusher is awesome, and so is Plockhorn, because these 3, because they're kind of insurance, right? So you put them down, they don't even want to get rid of them, because when they die, they give you a good effect. Plated Crusher can't even be removed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are and that's the climax of the deck, and that's like, I've tried to delete Reanimator a lot, and I've seen a lot of people play Reanimator, and after the deed is done, that's the game. It's not, I'm going to create another one, and another one, you know what I mean? So I feel like the Kin Tree Invocation is a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's just icing.
It's not really what you want to do, because Kin Tree Invocation is actually really good on like turn 2 or turn 3, and you have like a 0-4 or a 0-5, and you're like, boom, 5-5, bitch, like try to deal with it, right?
Is it toughness?
Yeah, it's toughness.
Oh, man.
But you already have too many multicolor spells, so you could possibly take it out. I have some options, though, if you wanted to. There's Shambling Shell, which is a 3-1 for 1 black green.
And it dredges.
Which really helps.
So you sacrifice it to get a +1/+1, to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and you can dredge it for, is it dredge 3, I think, or dredge 4?
Dredge, yes, 3 or 4, yeah.
Yes.
But there's also Suicide Scorpion. It's also another graveyard card. So it's 2 green, black. It's a 2/2 with Death Touch. And then it has Scavenge, so you can remove that creature from your graveyard and put that many counters, a +1/+1 counters equal to his power onto another creature at a sorcery speed.
That's cool. Those are 2 ones that I actually thought about quite a bit. So those might be better choices as well.
So, anyways, well, you already have a lot of multicolor spells, so it might be nice to just take that out and like add 2 green, because I know you're missing 1 green card.
Yeah, I think I believe I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I have 6 multicolored spells. I should have 5.
I have 1 or 2 cards from each of the archetypes that I want to get talk about, and you
Good.
have 1 too.
Good.
But before we do, I wanted to get a little more abrasive on this.
Sure.
Because I think it's really interesting because today, JP commented on your archetype. I don't know if you saw what he said afterwards. He has like a huge paragraph of stuff that he was talking about.
Is that really all the text? That's insane.
Yeah.
That's like 8 paragraphs.
Yeah. So.
But I literally said 1 sentence.
Yeah. So JP, JP, he's a funny guy because he's an awesome Magic player, but he also has like no social filter, and I'm sure he knows that. But he has some really good insight on Magic, and that's why I'm so stoked whenever he says stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always try to prod him on, what would you do,
Mm-hmm.
because he's I think, I think you're the original builder from the WAD crew. For cubes, you're the first one to build one, and that's been in the crew.
Mm-hmm.
What was the enchantment cube you made?
Oh, Revelations.
Revelations, right? And then we've built a cube since whenever. But what's that? Oh my god, there's like a million pops up. Just decline. Just press, yeah. I don't know what the first one on that.
Cool.
So I'm just gonna read off some of these things. Cool. We can maybe discuss it a little bit, and then we get 1 or 2 cards from the archetypes. We'll cut the program for the night. So one of the things that JP was saying is that, and you can respond to that however you like, that your reanimation targets is really top heavy, and there's no substance in the middle. There's no room for any other archetypes to fill in the card slot, the curve slots, right? So what he was saying is 7 mana payload. So you have how many 7 mana creatures there? So
1, 2, 3, 4.
5, right?
5.
So he was saying you could reduce it, and I tend to agree with him in some ways because, like I said, you have these 3 I hope that didn't. Anyways, you have these 3 payoff cards in Pelaka Worm, Penumbra, Spider, and Play the 3 Ps, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need Wirewood Guardian, right?
Counter argument. How are you going to get
just
those guys into the graveyard necessarily?
It's just the cycling that I thought that was original.
Cycling. They're easy because you have so many discard outs. Half the cube is discard outlets, right?
However, I would like a card that would be able to discard itself so that I need 3 cards.
That's fair. But when you think about going back to reanimation targets, they have to be able to stick on the ground or have a reason to be there, and like a 6/6 with 4 cycling is not really good. It's not really a target. You know what I mean? No one cares about it. That's gonna go last. No one cares. And making you have less targets in the draft makes you go even harder for those targets. It's kind of like no risk, no reward. It's a little interesting plot twist in the draft portion. You know what I mean? So in that, I agree with him.
Okay.
He was talking about triple mana cost, but I think that's part of the reanimation thing. And if you end up getting to late game, you can cast them. So I think that is something. So what else did he say? What? Oh, I don't know what he fucking said. Okay, so that was his main thing. He was saying the color imbalance because you had 1 too many multicolor spells. So,
but to be fair, in my archetype, I have 0 multicolor spells.
That's it. So, he brought some good points, and we can't go over all of them today. But I think he has some merit in the high casting cost guys. One of the big questions I had for you before we go on is why do you have the dragon in there?
Because it's an evasive ability, and I want an evasive creature.
Okay. So for me, and I could totally be wrong.
I also like the destroy target non-creature permanent. It's very green.
Yeah. The thing that I think is that it's not very archetypal, and it's a cool card to have after we've played, after we've filled out the archetypes, because it doesn't really do much for Reanimator. Because if you reanimate it has to die again, right?
That's true. It's only when it dies.
So I think if you were going to make some changes, and I don't know what the changes those would be, that might be a cool target, and it might be interesting to take out maybe that 6/6 swap, because even me, I'd never pick that, even if I was playing Reanimator. Garbaggio, for me, at least for me, because it doesn't stick, it doesn't have any protection from removal, right? Already we have a lot of good removal cards, and it does nothing. What happens if it gets bounced to your hand, the Hexproof guy is awesome. The Pelaka Worm, if it dies, you get you get to draw a card. It's awesome, it replaces itself. If the Penumbra Worm dies, you get another one. These guys are inherently very strong targets to reanimate. So that's just my like soapbox on that.
Cool.
But
Yeah, really
so anyway, if you're looking to replace cards, I'd say like maybe take out the Kintry Invocation.
I like Trinky, but yes,
Kintry Invocation, and maybe the one of those two bigger guys, and like think about like where you could fill in the mid range or to help this strategy even more. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So
good point.
so you want to move on to the other archetypes?
Yeah, is that what we're doing? Yeah, that's where we're going.
Any more thoughts? Yeah.
No.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I gave some thought because last week I gave some non-feedback to Jonathan about this card. It could work, of course, because it is a discard outlet. It's at 4 mana though. So
actually, since you've mentioned it, I've been thinking about this card a lot when I was doing it, and honestly, I can't think of a single reason why it's going to make the cut.
Okay, like you don't think it's going to make it?
No, not at
cool.
all.
So I have a really sexy suggestion.
Fantastic.
And it's a specific non-madness card, but she's one of the coolest cards ever. It's Cutthroat Udal.
Okay.
Cutthroat Udal. Can we look it up? Is that possible? Can I look it up?
Yep, just go here. We didn't just go another round yet.
Yeah. So Cutthroat Udal is actually it's a black creature that came out in Future Sight, but it's the only creature with both Hellbent and another ability we're ever going to see again.
Cutthroat Udal, that means they're from Wrath, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool. I'd like to see that plays still exists.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool card. It's this one. And she has actually won me games, if you're ever worried about her. Cutthroat Doll. So she has Shadow as long as you have no cards in your hand. What's great about this is that you're already going to have a lot of different creatures on the board. You'll have but if you get to the 4th turn with the Madness Deck, you're probably going to have like a fair amount of creatures on the board. You're not going to have many expensive spells. Most of your things will be taken care of. You will probably have your hand free.
Oh, it's fantastic. It also gives you another win condition card where you're not just dumping your entire hand onto the board, right?
Just to get the
which is what Madness is, right? You just dump your entire hand on the board and hope that works. But this guy, you dump your whole hand on the board and she can deal some damage directly.
Yeah, and there's very few things can block her at that point.
Well, exactly. Especially seeing as how I haven't seen another Shadow type in a long time. So
what's cool though is she doesn't always have Shadow.
No, that's it. Exactly.
So,
You can actually choose when she has Shadow, right?
Essentially, yes.
Especially with all the discard outlets that we have, you choose when she has Shadow.
Yeah, that's true.
You got it.
One card that I was looking at for the same exact card to replace it, because I also was going to say Creeping Dead, is Graves Grappler. And he's 4 to cast 2/2, which really sucks, right? But if you get the Madness him out, you get to return a target creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you have Graves Grappler in your hand, you already know you can discard a creature card without worrying about playing him, and you can play him for instant speed. He's not amazing, but he's kind of enabled. It gets enabled when you... So
the Madness is very cool. He's half the cost of a Grave Digger.
Yeah, Grave
Digger, yeah.
Without Madness, he's going to be terrible, but we do have so much to enable him. We should do it. I think that's a great idea.
So anyways, that's just an idea.
It's a great idea.
I agree.
One point about my own... 2 points about my own archetype.
Before you go into your archetype, I want to ask you a question about your archetype. Did you ever think about a Suspend card? Does that ever work into like a Spells Matter deck?
Yeah, it could work. What card were you thinking about?
Like any one of the typical like the Rift Bolt or whatever. Just so you have that. You have that timer going, and that's
and you get
gets
extra
spell.
pumps for it. Yeah, I mean the idea is there. The reason why I went with Flashback is because you're playing so many discard outlets. So I could literally go black, blue, discard cards off of Madness, and then still get Flashback.
Cool.
Or red. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Things work really well together. So that's why I was going with that more than Rebound. Right? That's what it was. Rebound.
More than.
Oh no, sorry. Suspend. Sorry.
Suspend. Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
So one thing I want to change was Teamer Battle Rage. Remember I was talking about how I wasn't really sure about it. Teamer Battle Rage. Where the hell? There.
Oh, the Double Striker.
Yeah. We already have Uncaged Fury.
Yeah, which is a better card.
And Teamer Battle
in some
Rage.
ways is a better
Teamer Battle Rage works well if we get the cards up to 4 toughness, right? And a lot of them can't. I was looking through the whole list. It was like 2. Right, and it's not really that great.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about doing Flame Jab, and Flame Jab it's 1 to cast. It's a sorcerer, I believe, and it deals 1 damage to target creature player. But you can retrace. You can discard a land card and play from your graveyard, and you can just keep on doing over it. And that means you can pump your prowess guys all the time when you're drawing lands. The prowess deck already has a low curve. That means you don't need a lot of lands. So it's already kind of a plus. You're pumping your guys for no real downside.
At no loss, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's one idea I was thinking about doing, and I think I am because we already have the Uncaged Fury, and this is just redundant. is the Genius Scab. Oh yeah, I don't know what I'm going to change it for, but there's a new card from Eldritch Moon. It's called Ingenious Scab, and I'm going to try to find it. I don't know. It's a 2/3.
Yeah,
Ingenious Scab. Oh my god, it's not how you spell ingenious.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
There you go.
There it is. We know all about Ingenious.
We're insulted.
Yeah, so there you go. So it's a 2/3 prowess, and then you can just like pump it. So I think that's really cool because it blocks early, and then it could be like a really aggressive, player later on.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's just an idea. There's also the Curious Homunculus.
Yeah, which becomes a voracious reader.
Yeah.
I don't know who comes up with these names for the flip side cards, but sometimes they're hilariously bad. Hilariously bad. There's no way to put it.
There's a lot of things about Eldrazi Moon that are hilariously bad.
Yeah, that's true.
They're just not funny.
How do I?
Just put it in the search bar.
Just click on the spoiler menu.
Can I just
Click it.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay.
Click it.
Click it.
You need to click
Can
anywhere?
you load slow enough? Like.
You have to accept.
No, maybe not.
Oh my gosh! Like fucking slow.
I still say you should just. I do very much like the harmless offering.
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna take forever.
What are you looking for?
Okay, I'm just gonna write it in. Like
the
John said.
Curious
How do you spell it?
Homunculus. H-O-M-U-N-C-U-L-U-S. No, there's no O. It's not O-U.
Fuck.
But it's okay. You got it.
That's what I was asking you guys for.
Even if you spell it wrong, Google's got your back, baby.
Fucking Google that. Alright, so yeah, so good. So it's 2 to cast. 2 to cast, 1/2, I believe. 1/1, okay. And he can. Oh god.
Make spells cost 1 less.
Yeah, so he makes your spells cost 1 less, which is super awesome, exactly what my deck wants to do. My archetype wants to do. And then when you have 3 or more instants in your graveyard, you transform him at the beginning of upkeep, and then he becomes a super sick beatdown machine. And he still gives you, he still does has the goblin, what is it, the goblin?
Yeah, the goblin Electromancer.
Electromancer, oh yeah, he's right there.
He's in the thesaurus.
Yeah. He's still
the thesaurus.
When I saw this card, I was
so
thinking
sick.
right.
I'm more likely to put this in than the other one,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is just a much better card.
It's a better card. It helps the archetype out, and it speeds things along. So I'm fairly sure when this comes out, I'm getting a copy of that, putting it in. I don't know what you guys think about that.
It's great.
Cool. Alright.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
So, I think we're going to, maybe we'll do like a random draw for who's going to be next.
Should be the first person that signed up.
First person that signed up?
Liam.
Yeah.
Liam.
It was the first come first.
Well, it was actually Matsur.
Oh, that's true. But who? Okay, so yeah, Matsur, you're...
or Liam. Well, wait, we'll discuss it on the page.
Yeah.
And, so thank you everyone for taking part.
Yeah.
Stuff like JP, we actually like it, so critical feedback, really important.
Yeah, very necessary.
And,
absolutely.
And fuck off. Take care.
Wow, okay, bye.